I want to welcome you to Carmel, the city of roundabouts. Have you all learned about the roundabouts? Had any problems going around the roundabouts? If not, we'll have Mayor Brainerd come give you a demonstration for what you're supposed to do on every roundabout in Carmel. It truly is the city of roundabouts. More roundabouts in Carmel than any other city in Indiana and nearly any other city in the United States. So by the time you leave, you will be well versed on how to drive on a roundabout here in Carmel. I want to welcome all of our newly elected auditors. We didn't have regional meetings this spring, so I would like to take the opportunity to ask all of the auditors who were elected in November of last year and took office in January of this year to please stand so that we can look around the room, welcome you, recognize you. And a few of these are faces that have been here before, but I would like to welcome all of you, please. Congratulations. And is Scott Clark in the room? I've not had an opportunity to meet. There he is. Scott is our newest auditor in the state of Indiana. Took office last week officially, and he is the auditor of Floyd County. So welcome. You know, Mike and Debbie both said that it is a partnership, and it truly is a partnership between the three offices. And I just want to say it is great to have the relationship, the working relationship that we have between our office, DLGF, and the State Board of Accounts. We meet on a monthly basis to talk about issues. In fact, it's hard to believe that it was last December we met with the officers of your association to begin planning this conference. And going over ideas for sessions that needed to be addressed not only here in May, but also potentially in October. But also we meet then each month. In fact, yesterday was our scheduled date, and I forgot to send out an email to everyone saying we weren't going to meet because of this conference, and I get a frantic email right before our meeting time from Micah saying, "Are we meeting today?" And had to inform him no, that we were going to cancel because of the conference. But that is the dedication that DLGF and State Board of Accounts and us have in working together, and it's a great relationship, and I just want to appreciate them and the opportunity that they have shown to work with all of us. Now, as you will know, over the last few years, I've gone over where we are from a revenue standpoint in the state of Indiana. Certainly, we went through the down periods of time, and we talked about how revenues had dropped significantly in state government. And now we're going back up through, several years now, 4 straight years of revenue growth in state government. And for our revenues through April of this year, we're continuing to show revenue growth. In fact, we're up in revenue nearly 20% from where we were in 2009. The problem is, as you look at these revenues, that is up just 2% when adjusted for the change in the sales tax rate that took place in 2009. We are up just 2% in total revenues that were collected so far year-to-date this year versus year-to-date in 2008. So while that revenue growth continues to grow, while state revenues continue to come in at a better rate than they have in previous years, while we have collected more revenue than ever in state government, it is just 2% more than what we did in 2008 when you take into account the additional 1% sales tax that was enacted beginning in 2009. That sales tax revenue continues to show growth, but as you look at it compared to 2009, that revenue growth isn't that great. So what you see from many of your retailers is that while there is more spending than there was previously, that spending has not grown that much comparatively over that last 5-year period of time. And that's why many retailers in your communities continue to be struggling. And certainly we saw a decrease in total retailers during the recession. We've begun seeing an increase in retailers opening up across the state. But from a sales tax standpoint, that sales tax growth continues to be pretty flat over the last few years. Income tax growth, additionally, is fairly flat with where it was in 2009, but it does continue to grow in each of the last 4 years. We certainly saw a big drop in income tax receipts in 2010, and these are fiscal year numbers, and we are on a July 1 to June 30 fiscal year, so we're nearly complete with our fiscal year. We have just the rest of May and June to complete before we close yet another fiscal year in state government. So our income tax revenues are up 14% from where we were in 10, but just 8% from where they were in 9. So it shows that there was that drop in income tax revenues between 9 and 10 fiscal years throughout the state of Indiana. You know, during the legislative session and during the last campaign for governor, there was a lot of talk about income tax cuts. And as you will note, the General Assembly in their final budget that was put together in the last day of session before they left sine die at the end of April, there is an income tax cut that is in the budget. The 3.4% income tax rate, though, remains flat through December 31st of 2014. The cuts do not begin until January of 15, and there is a 0.1% cut that takes effect January 1 of 2015 through December 31st of 16, and then that 5% cut that was talked about in the final budget negotiations is then finally and fully achieved in January of 2017, where the income tax rate will be cut from 3.3% to 3.23%. So there will be a 0.17% cut in the income tax rate over the next few years to realize that 5% individual income tax rate cut that was implemented during the budget that was adopted at the end of April of this year. You know, over the last few years, we've adjusted corporate income tax rates in an effort to become more competitive, to attract jobs in the state of Indiana. And so while you have seen these revenues go up and down over the time period of the last decade, much of that is because there have been changes within that income tax, or the corporate income tax rate. And again, there was another cut that took effect last year that is affecting revenues year to date this year from a corporate income tax standpoint. But corporate income tax still remains our third largest source of revenue in state government. The fourth largest actually eclipsed corporate income tax rates or collections for a short period of time a few years ago. But as we've seen more and more competition from the state of Ohio and others with gaming, our gaming revenues are now showing 4 straight years of loss of revenue compared to the previous year. All in all, though, we finished last year's fiscal year with about a $2.155 billion cash reserve at the end of the fiscal year, the largest reserve balance ever in the state's history. And you'll remember as a result of that, the General Assembly said anything over 10% in reserves, we're going to split. Half of it going to the retirement funds in the state of Indiana to help shore up our state pensions, and the other half back to every taxpayer in the state of Indiana through an automatic taxpayer rebate. About $360 million was split to each of those areas. $360 to the pensions, and $360 million going back to every taxpayer. And hopefully, that meant that you received a refund as well, as we saw more and more taxpayers this year claim a refund than we've ever seen in the state's history. And the Department of Revenue, while they certainly are not perfect, certainly has done a very effective job this year in processing those automatic rebates back to taxpayers throughout the state of Indiana. Now, we're talking a little bit in 3 different topics here today, and I'll be honest, I'm not sure that my segues are the best, but one of the things we also want to continue to talk about is retirement. Last May, we talked about the importance of ensuring that your employees have the proper channels and the proper options available to them to help save for their retirement. I truly believe that as auditors, as fiscal officers of your counties, you have a responsibility to have an active voice with your commissioners in providing effective benefit packages. And one of those benefit packages is an effective supplemental retirement fund. You know, when I was, and you've probably heard me say this before, but when I was county treasurer back in Allen County, someone asked, you know, are you going to join the supplemental retirement fund, the 457 plan? And I was young and stupid. I guess maybe running on a bad ankle wasn't the first time I've done something stupid. But I was young and stupid and thought, I don't need anything else. I've got perf. What else do I need? Trust me, as a member of perf and as a board member of INPERS, the Indiana Public Retirement System, perf is not going to solve all of your issues or all of my issues come retirement. We are going to need supplemental income. Hoosier Start is the state-sponsored plan. It is provided to all state employees. It is an option available to all local units of government as well. We have an investment committee that is made up of myself, the treasurer, the governor. On his behalf, Chris Atkins, the OMB director, serves in that role. And then we have 2 independent members, a Republican and a Democrat from the state. And one of those members is one of your own fellow members, Martha Lake, Howard County auditor, who serves as one of our board members, as well as Stephanie Rhinesmith. And she used to be the investment officer for Teachers Retirement Fund, and she now serves for several independent funds as their investment officer as well within the Indianapolis area. If you have any questions, if you are interested in learning more, please let me know, and let's talk about that, and we can come down and talk to you about that as an option for your employees. One of the things I truly believe in is retirement education, that we need to help our employees get to retirement, giving them the tools to get to retirement. And through Hoosier Start, we offer several retirement dinners, educational dinners that are free across the state. And later on this summer, I will send an email inviting each of you to our dinners this year. We've moved them up and changed the dates so that they will not conflict with AIC or the Auditors Conference this year, or IACT for that matter. Our first educational dinner will be September 17th in Indianapolis. We're going to have pre-dinner retirement sessions. One is from Robert Laura. He's a Forbes contributor, a retirement activist who will speak about naked retirement. What do we have to think about in being prepared for retirement? Not just the financial issues, but how does retirement affect each of us? We'll also have Pete the Planner speak, and Pete is a WIBC here in Indianapolis host, an author, written several books on retirement planning. He'll talk about 60 minutes of change. You can choose one of those options. We'll then welcome you in for dinner, and then after dinner, Chris Hogan, who's a financial motivational speaker with Dave Ramsey, will be our featured speaker for the evening. But then we also do some regional meetings and regional dinners around the state. On October 2nd, we'll be in Fort Wayne. On the 3rd, we'll be in Merrillville. We'll take a week break. On the 16th, we'll be in Evansville or close to Evansville at the Log Inn. And then on the 17th, we'll be at Henryville at the Wooded Glen. As you can probably tell, we like to eat. And we've chosen 4 pretty good places to do that around the state of Indiana. But also to learn about our retirement. And in the past, we've always just had a video presentation at those regional dinners. This year, Pete the Planner will actually be joining us and will be a featured speaker at each of those regional dinners. Again, we invite you to join us in Indianapolis for our main event or at one of our regional dinners to assist you in helping you meet your retirement goals and objectives as well. Now, I said my transitions are not always the best. And this is probably not the best transition. But as Paul said, it's something that we have to realize. The recent headlines of the last week, and these were the headlines of the last week here in Indianapolis, are not that good. They're not pretty at all. 2 of our former members of this organization were charged with felony counts. The difference is, that's why you're here. The difference is, that's why you're here, to make that difference and to not be on this chart in the future, because I certainly hope we don't have to do that again and show this type of a chart in the future. But the reality is, people in your communities will be hearing about what happened. They'll be asking you questions. Your news media will have heard about what happened, and they'll be asking you questions. They may even be saying, we need to go back to that proposal that was offered a few years ago that we thought we'd never hear again. Kernan Shepherd. We were hoping we'd never hear again. But I got to tell you, I already spoke with a newspaper writer who said he's going to be proposing just that, because we can't have this. And I said, that's not going to solve the issue. Now, some will say, oh, the media just wants to pinpoint on public officials gone bad. It happens in every industry. It happens in every line of work. And yes, it does. But the difference is, we took an oath to the public. The difference is, the general public has higher expectations for us because we're operating with their money. Not some corporate money, but the taxpayers' money. And the difference is, taxpayers do deserve better. And that's why your organization has been so helpful in working with us to try and come up with topics. So David, don't be telling people to go to the track this afternoon. I know it's a beautiful day. I know the cars are going to be going fast. I know they hope to break 230 again. But this is where we need to be. This is where you need to be. This is where we all need to be in sharing our successes. And this is why it is even more important that each one of us go back to our communities and talk about what we learned here. Talk about what we shared here. Talk with the media about how important this was. And talk with each other about what we are doing within our offices to make a difference. You know, for most of us, we didn't get into this line of work. Okay, not most of us. For all of us, we didn't get into this line of work because of the money. We got into this because we wanted to make a positive difference within our communities. That's why we're here. Unfortunately, me included, sometimes we get so focused on just doing our daily job that we can't get out there to communicate to the community what we are doing in a positive manner to make that difference. So I challenge each of us to take with us ideas. Whether it's ideas that you hear from the podium, whether it's ideas you hear in the cocktail hour from another county, whether it's ideas you hear from a vendor who is here, take those back to our communities, put them into action, and then tell our story. Because those are the headlines we want to see. And I know they don't like telling that story. And so that's why it's hard to, and you have to work at it to tell that story. But that's what we have to go back to do to reach, to see greater heights for the organization. John F. Kennedy had some great lines, and in that he said, "Let's not seek the Republican answer or the Democratic answer, but the right answer. Let us not seek to fix the blame for the past, what we just saw, but let us accept our own responsibility for the future." We took that oath to accept that responsibility. And let's take that. You know, I was asked to speak a little bit back in December, even before these headlines came out, about what it means to be an auditor. And I asked several of you, because I thought, where else can I get the best answers for what it means to be an auditor than from each of you? And so I asked several of you some ideas and some thoughts, and I loved them. We had some that were very serious. Some I could tell had had a really tough day with their commissioners or their council or their news media, or maybe the county treasurer, or maybe the numbers they were getting from their system, or the answer they were getting from their assessor on when they were going to certify values. But overall, from the responses I received, and I didn't ask everybody, I asked a few of you to provide some responses to me. Responsibility was the number one theme that I received. We have a responsibility as elected officials to serve, a responsibility to do our very best, a responsibility to not just say, I don't know how to do that, let somebody else handle that, or I don't want to handle it today, or, you know, I'm the elected official, I really don't have to go into work today, I don't want to, I'll let somebody else handle it. We have a responsibility as the elected official to do better. And I think we are encouraged to do that. It means to be an auditor, to have commitment, dedication, honesty, integrity, respect, and yes, teamwork. Yeah, sometimes that teamwork is amongst our fellow auditors. Sometimes that teamwork is within our office with our employees. Believe it or not, sometimes that teamwork is even with the council, commissioners, and other elected officials within our community, and maybe even the mayor and the city council as well, even though mayors across the state are wanting to take 911 dollars away and not contribute to their 911. They may not see that importance of teamwork, but yet it is an important aspect. What it means to be an auditor, even though most taxpayers have no clue what it really truly means, it is overwhelming. Because yes, you do have to babysit the commissioners and the council, maybe even change their diapers once in a while. Yes, you do have new laws that are coming down and new interpretations and emails all the time from DLGF, State Board of Accounts, our office. Yes, you really are the one that holds the glue together within the courthouse, and that can be overwhelming at times. But as a result, it can be oh so satisfying to recognize that everyone else is dependent upon what you do for them. Because yes, voters truly do trust you to do a good job. What it means to be an auditor, a servant, yeah, that's when the council and commissioners tell you to do something and you have to do it. Or when the legislature changes something and says, yeah, you have to do things differently this time. But it also is a steward of their tax dollars, but as a steward of the citizens as well. It's almost as if we're the orchestra director. We're right there in the pit of the orchestra with the focus of everyone in county government upon us, trying to keep harmony from all of the different sections and make sure that everyone plays at the right time and plays the right note. Yeah, that's what it means to be an auditor. It means to be versatile. It means that you may be focused when you get in there in the morning on finishing a specific report, and standing there waiting for you is somebody that says they have another idea for you because they want information from you now. It's taxing. It's taxing, all right, because it's all of those varied aspects that you have within your job. But it's satisfying when you have an opportunity to meet in your office one-on-one with the taxpayer and explain the process to them, and to have them leave your office and go, now I understand it. Now I get it. Why didn't somebody explain that to me the last 15 years I've been coming down here? I saw that satisfaction from an auditor just a few weeks ago when I walked in and was standing at the counter. And her office was full because instead of talking with the taxpayer at the counter, she'd taken him back into her office to work through a problem and an issue that they were having. It was an older couple that, quite frankly, didn't really truly understand the process. But as they walked out of their office, she saw that smile on their face, and I saw the smile on their face of recognizing that they truly felt that they now understood and they truly had been served by their elected official. You're changing diapers from messes that the council makes, the commissioners make, the legislature makes, sometimes we even make ourselves, or other areas of state government make for you. And at the same time, while changing those diapers artfully so that you can control the mess, you're having to put out a fire on the other side. That is what it means to be an auditor. It means hope. It means hope for a community, a state, a country, a family, friends, the disadvantaged, the elderly, the homeless, the underemployed, the unemployed, and yes, hope for even myself. You see, we got into this job because we wanted to make a difference, and even in a small way. We recognize we don't always make headlines as county auditors, but we do try to make a difference. I hope that we can try to make some positive headlines with the differences that we are making within our communities every day. And it is that satisfaction that makes us happy and provides us satisfaction and makes us a success. You see, to be an auditor, we need to be responsible to government. We need to be accountable to taxpayers. We need to be accessible and transparent to everyone. Now, one auditor, as I would only expect she would do, said being an auditor is fun. You know, it's fun to be challenged and to learn new things every day. Yeah, that's right. As auditors, we do learn things new every day. It's fun to work with great people, whether it's our fellow auditors, whether it's our fellow elected officials within our community, our political parties that we work within, our staffs within the office. It is fun, as I saw on someone's face a few weeks ago, to see the look on someone's face as you begin to tell them all of the things that the auditor does. Because we truly know that no one has any clue what an auditor does. They think you audit, but they don't really know the role that you play within county government and the important role that you play in keeping the folks together and moving forward. And it's fun to explain the tax process to taxpayers and truly have them appreciate what we do. But then I got to tell you, there are some days that we get that email that we say, seriously? You want me to do that? You decided to do that and to transfer those dollars or appropriate those dollars there? I just told you we didn't have any money. Seriously? That's a bigger priority than our employees to give them a raise? Seriously? Now you're going to change that on me? But we all know that taking the job of auditor is serious. It's serious business. And we do take it seriously. And we can't take it seriously if we're sitting down. We can't take it seriously if we're just sitting idly by and saying, I'm not going to read those emails today. I'm not going to deal with that memo coming from that agency. I'm not going to do that. We got to take it and be fully engaged if we're truly going to serve the taxpayers of our community as effectively as possible. I think you all know that I'm a big sports fan and a big hockey fan. You may or may not know that Wayne Gretzky, the great one, the greatest hockey player to ever play, actually started his professional hockey career in Indianapolis, playing for the Indianapolis Racers at a very, very young age, while he was still in high school. But I think that from the time you start playing sports as a child, you see that your responsibility to your team is to play the best that you can play as an individual, and yet not take anything away from being part of the team. Sometimes people say politics and government is kind of like a sport. Yeah, certainly the political process is sport at some times. And as a result, serving can sometimes be sport. But it is our responsibility to our team, our fellow auditors, our community, those who we serve, the taxpayers that have entrusted us to serve, to play the best that we can play as an individual, and do so not at the expense of our fellow auditors, or our fellow elected officials, or our community. One of my favorite movie clips that I was going to show you, and that was Norman Dale as he walked into the locker room of Hickory High School at that regional game. And as he brought that team together of Hickory Huskers, or as we know it better, Milan Indians, if you put your effort and concentration into playing to your potential, to be the best that you can be, I don't care what the scoreboard says at the end of the game. In my book, we're going to be winners. Let's take a pledge here today. I know you've already taken that pledge. You gave that oath and you've given that pledge, and you do so on a daily basis, and I know it. But unfortunately, a few of our former members didn't quite understand that. So let's recommit that effort. Let's recommit that pledge. Let's do our best that we can do every single day our very best. And if we give our true best effort, we don't care what it says on the back of the scoreboard. We don't care whether you're up against the odds and filing your annual report, but yet you do it on time because you know you have to. We know at the end of the day, you're truly going to be winners. It's my honor, it's my pleasure to work with a great group of winners. Let's go out, let's continue to serve, and let's go out and do our very best. Thank you very much.